Why? This Terrence Gangster Williams, aka OG Giggity. We're gonna get into my homeboy Richard Porter, aka Whop, out the Magnolia Project. Whop and I had kind of come up together. He's a few years older than I am, and we both went to Washington Private School back in the early '80s somewhere. Watt was one of them smooth brothers, brown skins, he wear a little fro, the little hush puppies back in the days. He always stayed fly, always stayed fresh. But he always went to jail, stayed in jail, stayed doing bids. Well, around 1999 or 2000, somewhere up in there, Wop, Dooney, Skiboo, those three hooked up. So they took over the project. Well, let me say this, not took over the project. I don't want nobody to go to getting up and say, what you mean they took over? They took over where we left off on our side of the project, the new side of the project, and started pumping in heroin. Around somewhere in early 2000s, Skiboo went to jail. He went to the state. So they pulled him out of the way. So now you got Dooney, you got Wop. They still doing their thing. So one day, one of the young boys at the Magnolia who was against what Dooney and Wop and them was doing, got at him on Washington Avenue, started airing it out. So what happened, Dooney and Wop had to turn into Claiborne in traffic. Well, they got away. So they back in the project, still hustling, getting money. And there's a few young boys in the project that Dooney said, hey, you can't sell in this courtyard. Now, mind you, these little young boys grew up in the Magnolia in this courtyard, and Dooney's telling them, hey, you can't sell in this courtyard. One of them still bucking, man, I grew up, I'm hustling. Allegedly, he gets shot up. And there's a few others still bucket, they ain't going for it. So Dooney grabbed all of the young boys who was doing bad, who didn't have nothing, and that's how the DVs were formed. Well, once Dooney was killed, Wop still was out, took over. Now, mind you, Skiboo in jail, Dooney deceased, Wop still getting the money. Well, there's a guy that we all were locked up with in juvenile jail and in OPP parish jail, what you all would call a county jail. He was out the St. Thomas Project. Well, he came to the Magnolia Project and asked Watt what's going on, who there was that killed Black. While, like, they talk, whatever the case may be. So allegedly, they couldn't find the young boy who killed Dooney. So happened, one of the young boys who shot at Dooney was killed, and the other little young guy, he fled. Well, as Wop getting money, allegedly he started getting high off his own supply. And it's a female at our project named Chantel. Her and Wop were fooling around, whatever the case may be, and they had a disagreement. I don't know what the disagreement was all about, but he hits her up allegedly 14 times, but she survived. And they start, still getting money in the project, and the feds come through, and they got arrested by the feds in the early 2000s. Wop, the hitman, and a few other people. Wop out the Magnolia, he received a life sentence and a couple in other years for the shooting on Chantel, the heroin. And he got multiple charges and was sentenced to life. The hitman went to trial for 4 murders, 4 homicides, and was facing a death penalty. He received a life sentence for 3 of the murders and beat 1 of the murders. Currently, they are still fighting their case, still trying to, scratch to get up out of there. But you know how the federal system, well, a lot of you don't know how the federal system go, but the federal system, man, they make the laws, they break the laws. They'll make the law, and then one word, you be like, oh, I got him. It's in my favor. And then one word, but, or and, could change the whole meaning of that law. And this, oh no, this don't apply to you. This don't fit you. So currently, Whop is in Yazoo. That's the last I heard. He was in Yazoo, Mississippi, in a federal prison. And he's still doing good. Keeping his hopes up, still fighting, scratching, trying to get out of that place. His hitman still in the penitentiary, floating around, beefing with people, stabbing people up, letting people know you're gonna know my name. I'm such and such. He repping his name to the fullest and let people know who he is and where he's from. And he still just going hard, stuck in them penitentiaries. But one of Whop co-defendants, their co-defendants, he got out. Well, a few of them got out because some of them didn't have the leadership role and wasn't charged with a lot of stuff that Whop was charged with. His hitman, those out of the whole indictment, those are the only two that received a life sentence. The hitman received a life sentence plus 100-some years, plus some 20 years. They got like all kind of stuff. They just, the Fed, they just piled it on you and let you deal with it, sort it out later. But I just want you all to know that trouble is easy to get into, but hard to get out. And there's a lot of other situations going on with their situation, their case, that I don't want to disclose here, because you know how people be, hey man, and you put that out, man, that's gonna hurt me. Why you say this? Why you say that? What I'm learning about this stuff is people won't do the stuff, but then when you do it, they quick to critique you and tell you how you should do this and how you should do that, but they're not doing that. But for you young steppers, gangsters that's out here grinding and hustling now, keep in mind, just because you're getting away today, that don't mean the feds ain't watching. They will watch you for 2-3 years, whatever. And then when they come down, boy, they coming down. So be mindful of a lot of these men that came before you that's doing a lot of time right now. And you all need to study and learn, because the federal system is totally different from the state system. So, in the state, if we co-defendants, I take my charge, you take your charge, or if we go to trial, whatever, they're going to just sentence me, or I'm going to be responsible for what I did, and you responsible for what you did. And the feds, they probably know, and they have some things called relevant conduct. Relevant conduct means this: if you and I in a conspiracy together, and they got us under investigation for selling drugs, if you got busted for some drugs within that realm for the state or something, and went to did state time while the Fed got you in an investigation, when you get arrested for the Fed, they're going to use relevant conduct. They're going to say those drugs that you got busted for in the state was relevant to our case over here. Or if you could shoot somebody on the streets and you go do state time while the Fed got you on investigate, they're going to call that relevant conduct. They're going to say, because that shooting had something to do with the ongoing conspiracy, and you held accountable for that over here in the Fed too, so they enhance you. It's all kind of stuff that the Feds do that you all need to be aware of. Get yourself together, man, while y'all here. Y'all know the motto: say no to drugs, stop the violence, let's put them guns down. And let's talk to this at-risk youth. I'm out. Wah!